In the pouring rain in New York, a single father tightly held his young son's hand, rushing through the flooded streets to get to work. Suddenly, they saw a woman, her face full of despair, standing beside a broken-down car. Despite knowing he might be late for work, the father didn't hesitate to stop and offer help. However, that selfless act came with an unexpected price that he could never have anticipated. Before we continue, let me share something you may find helpful. It's called pure shilajit essence, a natural way to support energy and vitality. You can learn more through the link in the description, or simply scan the QR code you see on the screen. The rain poured down on New York City, turning streets into rivers of gray water. James Carter walked through the downpour, his 8-year-old son Michael by his side, both hunched against the storm. The city felt harsh and unforgiving, the streetlights barely cutting through the rain. At 40, James had learned to rely on himself, especially now with Michael in tow. They had no permanent home, moving between shelters with their few belongings in a worn backpack. Life on these streets was tough, but they made do, even when it felt like there was no room to breathe. "Daddy, I'm scared of the thunder, are we going to be late?" Michael's small voice barely cut through the roar of rain hitting pavement. His hand gripped his father's tighter as lightning flashed overhead. James knelt down briefly, rain soaking through his knees. "I know, buddy, but remember what I told you. Thunder is just the sky's way of clapping. It can't hurt us. But it's so loud," he whimpered, his 8-year-old bravery wavering. "I know it is. Here, hold my hand tight and we'll count together after each flash, okay? That'll help us know how far away it is." James checked the time on a store window clock, its neon numbers blurred through the sheets of water. 7:45. They had exactly 15 minutes to make it across town to the diner where he washed dishes, and in this weather, with the streets flooding and visibility near zero, it would be tight. Very tight. "We'll make it, son. We always do," he said, though doubt gnawed at his stomach. His voice carried more confidence than he felt, but Michael needed that reassurance. The streets were nearly empty, most sensible people having sought shelter from the storm hours ago. The wind howled between buildings, creating tunnels of air that tried to rip their battered umbrella from Michael's small hands. Puddles grew rapidly, merging into small lakes that reflected the dim glow of streetlights. They were making their way toward the subway station when James saw it. A luxury sedan sat parked on the side of the road, its hazard lights blinking weakly through the downpour. A woman stood beside it, her phone pressed desperately to her ear. Even from a distance, even through the rain, James could hear the frustration and desperation in her voice. "I've been waiting for over an hour. You said 30 minutes. The woman's voice cracked with emotion. "No, I can't wait another 2 to 3 hours. My mother had another stroke. They said to come immediately if I want to." Her voice broke completely. "Please, isn't there anyone closer?" James watched as she ended the call, her shoulders sagging with a despair so profound it was visible even through the rain. She tried other numbers, her fingers trembling as she scrolled through her phone. Taxi companies, rideshare apps, each call ended the same way. In the downpour, in this part of the city, no one wanted to come. James's feet slowed, despite his brain screaming at him to keep walking. Every instinct told him to keep moving. They were cutting it dangerously close already, and Mr. Gianmarco had been crystal clear that one more late arrival meant termination. No second chances, no excuses, but looking at the woman, seeing the panic etched into her face, the way her hands trembled as she tried another number, he couldn't just walk past. James knelt down to Michael's level, rain pelting them both. "Buddy, that lady needs help. Her car broke down, and her mother is very sick in the hospital." Michael's eyes filled with understanding far beyond his 8 years. "We should help her, Daddy. Like you always say, helping people is the most important thing we can do." James stood, his jaw set with determination. "You're right, son. You're absolutely right. Stay here under this awning with our things. I'll be right back." He approached the woman cautiously, rain immediately drenching his shoulders. "Ma'am, do you need help?" She spun around, and James saw it, that flash of fear in her eyes. A stranger approaching in the dark, in the rain, in this neighborhood. But desperation quickly overtook suspicion. "My tire, it's flat." Her words tumbled out in a rush. "I've called roadside assistance 3 times. First they said 30 minutes, then an hour, now they're saying 2 to 3 hours because of the storm. Every taxi and Uber says they won't come to this neighborhood in this weather. Her eyes were red-rimmed. My mother, she's had a massive stroke, they said. She couldn't finish. James moved quickly to assess the situation. Do you have a spare tire? Yes, in the trunk, there are tools there too. But I don't know how to change it, and everyone says they can't help me tonight. The last words came out as almost a sob. James made a decision that would change everything. I can fix this. Ma'am, please take this umbrella to my son over there. He pointed to where Michael stood. Both of you stay dry. I'll change your tire. But you'll get completely soaked, you'll freeze. Your mother needs you, James said firmly. Time is what matters now, let me help. The woman's eyes filled with tears of gratitude so profound it was almost painful to witness. She hurried to where Michael stood, holding the umbrella over both of them while James went to work. He opened the trunk, spotting the spare tire, jack, and lug wrench. As James worked in the pouring rain, his worn jacket quickly became plastered to his thin frame. The cold seeped into his bones with every passing second, but he pushed through, his fingers growing numb as he worked the stubborn lug nuts. From under the awning, he could hear Michael's sweet voice. My daddy is really good at fixing things. He fixes everything. And he says helping people is what makes us good people, not having money or a big house. 15 minutes passed, then 20. The rain came down harder, and James could feel himself shivering uncontrollably, but he kept working. His hands slipped repeatedly on the wet metal, but he thought of this woman's mother, dying alone in some hospital bed, and pushed harder. Finally, with a grunt of effort that sent pain shooting through his chest, he tightened the last lug nut and stood up, swaying from exhaustion and cold. His entire body shook with violent tremors. All done, he called out, his teeth chattering. You can make it to the hospital now. The woman rushed over, pressing money into his shaking hands. Please take this, you're freezing. You need to get warm. James pushed the bills back, his hands trembling badly. No, just go, your mother is waiting. That's all that matters, but I can see you need this money. Please, please, James interrupted, another shiver racking his body. Just go to her, be with her. That's all the payment I need. The woman looked at him with tears streaming down her face. I'm Catherine Hastings. Please, I need your name, your number, I want to repay you properly. James Carter, he managed through chattering teeth. He didn't have a phone number to give her. Where can I find you? Where do you live? James hesitated, embarrassed. We move around, but it's okay. Just go, please. Catherine pulled out a business card and a pen. Write down anywhere I can reach you, a shelter anywhere at all. With shaking hands, James wrote down the address of St. Mary's Shelter. Sometimes, we stay here when they have room. Catherine clutched the card. I'll find you, I promise. Thank you, James Carter. You gave me the gift of goodbye. She rushed to her car and drove off into the storm. James stood there shivering violently, water running off him in streams. When Michael brought the umbrella back, he gasped, Daddy, you're shaking so much, your lips are blue. I'm okay, buddy. His voice was barely recognizable. We need to get to work now. We have to hurry. They hurried through the rain, but James knew they were late. Very late. His whole body trembled with cold, and he could feel a dangerous chill settling in his chest. By the time they reached the diner, they were 45 minutes late. Mr. DeMarco was waiting just inside the kitchen door, his face purple with rage. Carter, this is it. You're always late, always making excuses. Please, Mr. DeMarco, there was an emergency. James could barely form the words. A woman's mother was dying. I had to help her. I don't care. DeMarco screamed, You're late. You're always late. And look at you dripping water all over my clean floor. James swayed, grabbing the door frame for support. Please, we need this job. I'll work extra hours. Out. You're fired. Get out, and take that kid with you. As they walked back into the rain, James felt wrong, deeply wrong. His head pounded, his chest hurt with each breath, and he couldn't stop shaking. By the time they reached the shelter, James was burning with fever. Sister Margaret took one look at him and immediately called for help. Sweet Jesus, he's got hypothermia and fever. Get him to the clinic now. James spent the next 7 days in and out of consciousness at the free clinic, fighting pneumonia and severe exhaustion. Michael stayed by his side every moment they would allow, terrified. When James finally woke on the 8th day, weak but coherent, the first face he saw was Michael's, tear-stained but smiling. "You came back, Daddy. You came back to me. I was so scared." James pulled him close with what little strength he had. "I'll always come back to you, buddy. Always, Doctor." Patel explained his condition. "You had pneumonia, Mr. Carter, combined with hypothermia and exhaustion. Your body needed to shut down. You'll need another week of rest, antibiotics, and proper nutrition." But even a week was a luxury they couldn't afford. The shelter had a strict 3-day limit. With no job and no money, they'd be back on the streets soon. The following week passed in a haze, as James slowly recovered. He was still weak, his cough persistent, but getting stronger each day. Michael, brave as always, never complained, but James saw how thin he was getting. They were sitting in the shelter's common room, when Sister Margaret approached with Catherine Hastings. "James, this lady has been looking for you everywhere." James looked up and recognized Catherine, though she looked different now, more casual, but her eyes showed deep sadness. "Mr. Carter," Catherine said softly, "I've been searching for you for over a week. May I sit down?" James nodded, confused and embarrassed. Catherine sat across from him. "Because of you, I made it to the hospital in time. My mother," her voice caught. "She held on just long enough for me to hold her hand, to tell her I loved her, to say goodbye properly. You gave me that gift, James, the precious, irreplaceable gift of goodbye." Tears streamed down her face. "I'm so sorry it took so long to find you. I tried this shelter a week ago, but you weren't here. Then I learned you'd been in the clinic, sick because..." She couldn't finish. "I'm okay," James said hoarsely. "No, you're not okay." Catherine pulled out an envelope. "Sister Margaret told me everything. You lost your job helping me. You got pneumonia. You nearly died." She paused. "I need to repay you." James shook his head. "I didn't help you for money." "I know. That's exactly why I'm here." Catherine leaned forward. "James, I'm the CEO of Sterling Motors. We manufacture luxury vehicles. I saw how quickly, how expertly you changed that tire in the worst conditions. You have real skills. More importantly, you have character." She paused. "I want to offer you a position at my company, head of maintenance operations. It's a 30-day trial to start, but if it works out, it becomes permanent with full benefits." James stared at her, certain he'd misheard. "I don't understand. I'm a dishwasher. I was a dishwasher. I don't have qualifications. You fixed a tire in a thunderstorm in 15 minutes. You lost everything to help a stranger. Those are the qualifications I value most." Catherine pulled out her business card. "The position starts Monday if you want it. We'll provide an advance to help you get on your feet. First month's rent, work clothes, whatever you and Michael need." She stood to leave, then turned back. "My mother's last words to me were, find the helpers in this world, Catherine. They're the ones who truly matter. You're a helper, James. Now please, let me help you." After she left, James sat in stunned silence, the business card trembling in his hands. Michael climbed into his lap carefully. "Is the nice lady going to help us, Daddy?" James held his son close, tears finally falling. "I think maybe she is, buddy. I think maybe everything is going to be okay." For the first time in years, James allowed himself to hope. Monday was 3 days away, 3 days to recover, to prepare, to believe that one act of kindness had somehow opened a door to a future he never knew existed. The weekend passed in a blur of preparation. Catherine had been true to her word. A messenger arrived Saturday morning, with an envelope containing $2,000 and a note, for rent, clothes and anything else you and Michael need. "See you Monday, Catherine H." James stared at the money, more cash than he'd seen in years. Sister Margaret helped him find a small efficiency apartment in Queens. It was tiny, just a studio with a bathroom and kitchenette, but it had heat, working locks, and a window. "We have a home, Daddy," Michael exclaimed, spinning in the small space. "A real home." James sat on the second-hand couch, still weak but smiling. "Yes, buddy, a real home." Sunday night James laid out his clothes for Monday, his hands trembling from nerves and lingering weakness. "Daddy, you look handsome," Michael said, watching him try on the new shirt and pants. Thanks, buddy. He knelt down. Tomorrow you're going to a new school. A real school. Are you scared? Michael nodded. A little, but you're scared too, right? James smiled. Yeah, I am, but we'll be brave together, okay? Okay, Daddy. Together. Monday morning, James woke at 5 a.m. unable to sleep. He made breakfast. Actual breakfast with eggs and toast, something they hadn't had in months. He got Michael ready for his first day at the local elementary school. Catherine had arranged everything, including enrollment in the meal program. After dropping Michael at school, James took the subway to Long Island City, where Sterling Motors headquarters stood gleaming in the morning sun. The building was modern and imposing, all glass and steel. James approached the security desk, his heart pounding. I'm James Carter. I have an appointment with Miss Hastings. The guard looked up and smiled. Ah yes, Miss Hastings mentioned you'd be starting today. Welcome aboard, Mr. Carter. He handed James a temporary badge. Take the elevator to the executive floor, 28th floor. When the elevator doors opened, a well-dressed assistant greeted him. Mr. Carter, I'm Patricia, Miss Hastings' assistant. She's ready for you. Catherine's office overlooked the East River, morning sun streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. She stood as he entered, coming around her desk with a genuine smile. James, you look much better. How are you feeling? Better, thank you. He coughed slightly. Still have a bit of a cough. Good, I'm glad. Please, sit down. Once seated, Catherine became more serious. I want to be transparent about this opportunity, James. The position is head of maintenance operations. You'll oversee all vehicle maintenance training, facility maintenance coordination, and manage a team of 15 people. James's stomach dropped. 15 people. I've never managed anyone. Call me Catherine, please. And yes, I know this is a stretch. That's why we're starting with a 30-day trial. You'll have support. My current operations manager, David Reynolds, will help train you. But I need someone who understands maintenance from the ground up. She pulled out a folder. The salary is $65,000 annually if the trial goes well. During trial, you'll make $48,000 annualized. Health insurance for you and Michael starts immediately. $65,000. James had never imagined making that much. Catherine, I have to ask, why me? You could hire someone with experience, credentials, because credentials don't teach character. Catherine interrupted gently. That night in the rain you had every reason to walk away, but you saw someone in need and you helped. That's leadership, James. She stood extending her hand. So, do you accept? 30-day trial with evaluation to see if it's the right fit. James stood and shook her hand. Yes, I accept, and I promise you won't regret this. I know I won't. Catherine smiled. Now let's go meet your team. The maintenance facility was a massive warehouse filled with vehicles in various stages of service. The team of 15 workers looked up curiously as Catherine led James inside. An older white man with a skeptical expression approached. This was David Reynolds, the operations manager. Everyone, this is James Carter, your new head of maintenance operations, Catherine announced. He comes to us with extensive hands-on experience. David will help him transition over the next month. The team's reaction was mixed. Some nodded politely. Others whispered among themselves, their skepticism obvious. David looked openly doubtful. After Catherine left, David cornered James. Look, I don't know what you did to impress the boss, but this is a professional operation. Do you even have AC certification? Any formal training? No, sir, but I'm here to learn and work hard. David snorted. We'll see. Come on, I'll show you your workspace. But first, HR needs to process your background check, get your fingerprints, safety training. That'll take most of today. James spent his first day in HR meetings. Lisa, the HR representative, walked him through stacks of forms. Background checks, tax documents, direct deposit, emergency contacts, safety acknowledgements. The background check usually takes 5 to 7 days, Lisa explained. During that time, you'll be in provisional status. She led him to mandatory safety training videos. Hours of OSHA regulations, workplace safety, harassment prevention, company policies. James took careful notes. By late afternoon, he finally saw his small office, barely bigger than a closet, with a desk, computer and stacks of maintenance logs. Training manuals are there. David pointed to a mountain of binders. Vehicle specs, maintenance protocols, safety procedures. You'll need to know all of it. Team meeting at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Don't be late. After David left, James stared at the mountain of information. Where did he even start? But he thought of Michael at his new school, thought of their apartment, thought of Catherine's faith in him. A gentle knock made him look up. A young woman stood there, smiling. Mr. Carter, I'm Sophia Martinez. I work in parts inventory. I heard what you did, helping Miss Hastings that night. That took real courage. Thank you, Sophia. Please call me James. Sophia's smile widened. Okay, James. Look, I know some of the guys are set in their ways, but not all of us feel that way. If you need help with anything, computer stuff, procedures, whatever, just ask me. I really appreciate that, Sophia. After she left, James took a deep breath and opened the first manual. He had hours until tomorrow's meeting. Time to start learning. At 2 p.m. the next day, James entered the conference room where his team waited. 15 pairs of eyes watched him with expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism. Good afternoon, James began, his voice steady despite his nerves. I know I'm not what you expected. I don't have the typical background or certifications, but I'm here because I care about quality work, and I'm willing to learn from every one of you. He met David's cynical gaze. I'm not here to change everything overnight. I'm here to understand how you work, what you need, and how we can improve together. Over the next 30 days, I'll be learning from you. A burly mechanic named Tony spoke up. With all due respect, how can you manage maintenance if you don't know our systems? That's fair, Tony. James nodded. I know engines. I know vehicles. What I don't know yet is your specific procedures. That's where you come in. Teach me what works and what doesn't. The meeting continued for over an hour with James mostly listening, asking questions, taking notes. He didn't pretend to know more than he did. Slowly, some team members began to warm up slightly. After the meeting, David pulled him aside. You did better than expected. But talk is cheap. Tomorrow you're on the floor. Let's see if you can actually do the work. I look forward to it, James replied. That evening, James picked up Michael from his after-school program. How was your first day, Daddy? Challenging, but good. How about yours? I made 2 friends, Emma and Marcus, and the teacher is really nice. We learned about fractions. As they rode the subway home, Michael fell asleep against his shoulder. James looked at his peaceful face and thought about the skepticism he'd faced, the pressure of the trial period. But he also thought about Sophia's kindness, about having a real apartment, about Michael making friends at school. For the first time in years, they had stability, they had hope. The next morning, James arrived at 6 a.m., an hour before his official start time. He wanted to observe the early shift, see how the team really worked. Tony was already there, working on a complex transmission. You're here early, Tony said, surprised, wanted to see the morning routine. Mind if I watch? Tony shrugged. Suit yourself, don't get in the way. For the next hour James observed, occasionally asking questions, offering to hand tools when needed. Tony worked with impressive precision. You're really good at this, James said honestly. How long have you been doing transmission work? 22 years in automotive. Started as an apprentice at 18. It shows. The way you diagnose by sound alone, that's mastery. Tony paused, looking at James with less suspicion. You really know engines, or just blowing smoke? I've rebuilt my share over the years. Mostly older models. Nothing as sophisticated as these, but the fundamentals are the same. Prove it, Tony challenged, gesturing to a problematic engine in the corner. That one's been giving us trouble for 3 days. Intermittent starting issue. We've replaced the battery, alternator, tested everything by the book, but it still acts up. James examined the engine carefully, listening, checking connections. Then he noticed something, slight corrosion on a ground wire connection, barely visible. Here he pointed. Ground wires corroded. Not enough to fail completely, but enough to cause intermittent issues, especially in humidity. Tony checked it himself, his eyes widening. I'll be damned, we missed that completely. He laughed. Maybe you do know your stuff. He extended his hand. Tony Morelli. James shook it firmly. James Carter, good to meet you properly. As the team arrived, word spread about James catching the problem they'd missed. The atmosphere shifted subtly. He wasn't just the boss's charity case anymore. He was someone who understood the work. James threw himself into learning everything over the following days. With Sophia's help on computers and David's guidance on procedures, he gradually understood the operation. He worked alongside the team, never asking them to do anything he wouldn't do. When the night shift needed help with an emergency repair, James stayed until midnight. Michael never complained about the long hours. Their apartment was paradise compared to the shelter. He thrived at school, made friends, had regular meals. 2 weeks into his trial, James was reviewing maintenance schedules when David entered, looking serious. "We have a problem. A VIP client, Senator Morrison, needs his car serviced before an important event tomorrow. He's considering ordering 20 vehicles for the state government." "What's the issue?" James asked. "We need to work all night, but my top 2 mechanics called in sick. We're short-staffed." James didn't hesitate. "I'll do it. Walk me through what needs to be done." "You can't do a full VIP service alone. It takes hours even with experienced people." "Then let's do it together." David looked at him for a long moment before nodding. "All right, but this will be a very long night." They worked all night. James handled the mechanical work under David's guidance, while David managed the cosmetic and quality checks. By morning the car was perfect. As they admired their work, David said, "I owe you an apology, James. I thought you were just someone Catherine felt sorry for, but you're the real deal. You work harder than anyone I've ever seen, and you're not afraid to get your hands dirty. That's real leadership." "Thank you for giving me a chance to prove myself," James replied. The service was a success. The senator was so impressed he immediately ordered 20 vehicles. Catherine personally thanked both James and David. By the end of the trial period, James had quietly transformed the department. Efficiency increased 15%, morale improved, and his small improvements saved thousands of dollars. 2 days before the trial ended, Catherine called James into her office. "James, please sit down," Catherine said, her expression serious. "We need to talk about your trial period." James sat, gripping the chair arms. Catherine's serious expression broke into a warm smile. "I've received excellent feedback from David, every team member, clients, other departments. The consensus is unanimous. You've exceeded all expectations." She slid a document across the desk. "This is your permanent employment contract. $65,000 annually, full benefits for you and Michael, plus performance bonuses that could add another $10,000 per year. Welcome to Sterling Motors, James." James took the contract with shaking hands, tears in his eyes. "Thank you. You have no idea what this means." "I think I do," Catherine said softly. "You gave me the gift of goodbye with my mother. Let me give you and Michael the gift of a real future. You've earned this." That evening, James took Michael to a family restaurant for the first time in his life. "We're staying, buddy," James said, emotion in his voice. "The job is permanent. We're really going to be okay now." Michael threw his arms around him. "I always knew you could do it, Daddy." As they ate dinner, James reflected on the journey. From that rainy night when he fixed a stranger's car, losing everything, to this moment of stability and hope. He had chosen to do what was right, even when it cost him dearly, and somehow that single act of kindness had come back to him tenfold. The future stretched ahead, full of possibilities. There would be challenges, but for the first time in Michael's life, James could honestly say, they were going to be all right. More than all right, they were going to thrive. Months later, on a crisp autumn morning, James stood in front of the mirror getting ready for work. The cough was gone, replaced by real health. His reflection showed a different man, healthier, stronger, more confident. Michael was thriving, straight A's in school, friends who came over for playdates, a smile that never left his face. He had even joined the school choir. At work, James had become integral to Sterling Motors. David had become not just a colleague but a genuine friend and mentor. The team respected him, trusted him, came to him with both work and personal concerns. Tony had become like a brother, teaching him advanced techniques while learning from James's practical wisdom. Sophia had introduced him to her family, and their kids were now friends with Michael. Catherine had become more than his boss, a friend, a mentor, someone who checked on them regularly, who attended Michael's school performances, who genuinely cared. One morning, As James prepared for another day, there was a knock at the door. Opening it, he found Catherine standing there with a huge smile and an envelope. "I have news that couldn't wait," she said excitedly. "The board of directors met yesterday. James, they want to expand the maintenance division and create a whole new training program. And they want you to head it up, Director of Maintenance Training and Development, with a salary of $85,000 plus bonuses." James stood speechless, overwhelmed by how far they had come. "There's more," Catherine continued. "We're also creating a scholarship program for employees' children. Michael will have his education paid for from elementary through college." James felt tears in his eyes. From the hardest days to a bright future, he was thankful for good choices, for the turning point in his life when he chose kindness over self-preservation. He thought of that rainy night, standing in the storm, freezing and desperate, yet choosing to help a stranger. That moment of compassion, when everything seemed lost, had opened doors he never imagined existed. "Thank you," James said to Catherine, his voice thick with emotion, "for seeing something in me worth believing in." "You had it all along, James," Catherine replied, her own eyes glistening. "You just needed someone to give you a chance to show it." As Catherine left, James looked around their modest apartment, no longer temporary shelter, but home. He thought of Michael sleeping peacefully in the next room, safe and secure. He thought of the job waiting for him, the team who respected him, the future that lay ahead. One act of kindness in a thunderstorm had changed everything. Not because he sought reward, but because he couldn't walk past someone in need. That simple choice, made in a moment of cold and desperation, had rippled outward in ways he could never have predicted. James smiled, ready to face the new day. They had survived the storm and found their way to sunshine. And now, finally they were home.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.